Are we ready?
Okay.
There we go. Good morning, everybody. I hope we've all recovered from our blizzard of 2026, and I hope we're all ready to have more snow, unfortunately. All right, I am calling to order the Connecticut State Advisory Council for Special Education, our SAC meeting, Wednesday, and we are February 25th at 10:37. My name is Missy Wrigley, and I am chair as well as parent member of SAC. As always, our meeting is being recorded today, so please remember to use acronyms if you are speaking. Okay. Let me do this since I forgot. There we go. How is that? Thank you, Brian, for our visuals. You got to love it. Okay. So our SAC brings together the Connecticut State Department of Education, educators, related service providers, administrators, legislators, parents, as well as students and persons with disabilities. Through these meetings, our priorities, our recommendations for CSDE, and our Connecticut General Assembly are formed. More detailed information can be found on the Connecticut State Department of Education website, along with the past meeting videos, and our newest annual report can be found there. So let's start off with some of our introductions, please. I'm just going to go right down the line here. Lauren, you're right next to me. Would you like to just say hello?
Good morning, Lauren Johns, Project Specialist, helping with anything I can.
Okay. And Christine?
Good morning, all. Christine Killowen, consultant with CERC, and along with Lauren, happy to assist you.
Catherine?
Good morning, everyone. Catherine Sum, representing Aging and Disability Services and specifically Bureau of Education and Services for the Blind.
Jen? Our birthday girl?
Good morning, Jen Lucier, and I'm here representing the Connecticut Parent Advocacy Center.
Stacy?
Good morning, Stacy Palker. I'm here as a parent representative.
Thank you. Tom?
Good morning, Tom Kosker, advocate with Disability Rights Connecticut, the protection and advocacy system here in Connecticut, and also a parent.
Kim?
Good morning, Kim Williamson. I represent speech language pathologists.
Nachi?
Thank you, Missing. Good morning, everyone. Anachi Bhatt, representing the Department of Children and Families, specifically children in foster care.
Sean?
Good morning. I'm Sean Cronin. I work with Brian at the State Department of Education.
Thank you. We'll wait for Jeff to come back. Joviana? I thought you weren't going to be here today.
I'm here. Good
I'm
morning,
glad.
Joviana Morales, and I'm here as a parent representative.
All right. Anna?
Good morning, everyone. Anna Wittig. I'm representing state-approved private special education schools.
Jake? There you go.
Sorry about my hiccup. My name is Jake Shumbo, and I am a student and stakeholder, and I work with the Connecticut Parent Advocacy Center.
Jake, glad you could make it today.
Susan?
Thank
you, Missy.
Hi, Susan Yankee, and I'm a parent member.
Jeff. You're muted, Jeff.
Jeffrey Spar, parent member and chair of the Legislative Committee.
All right. Brian with a Y.
Morning, everybody. Brian Klimkowitz. I'm the Special Education Division Director at the State Department of Ed and the Bureau of Special Education.
All right. Lori?
Good morning, everyone. Lori Fortuna. I'm a parent representative.
All right. Thank you. Amy?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Amy Messenger and also here as a parent rep.
All right. Jonathan, you're driving.
I am. It is one of those days. As a parent representative, I have many of these days. Okay, Jonathan.
Okay, so please drive carefully.
Will do.
Brandolyn. I don't know.
Good
Oh,
morning,
she's-
everyone. Brandon Fulton Williams. I'm a parent representative and also the vice chair. And thank you, Jeff, for coming to get me. I just got off the phone, so it worked out.
Oh, it's good. All right. Megan.
Hi, I'm Megan Gallagher. I'm a speech language pathologist representing the Connecticut Speech and Hearing Association.
Oh, thanks for joining us. Mary Beth? You're muted, Mary Beth.
You would think after all these years on Zoom. I'm Mary Beth Bruder at the University of Connecticut UCED, and I represent higher education.
Thank you. It happens to all of us. Eve.
It usually happens to me, but not this morning. Good morning. I'm Eve Hurley, Director of Pupil Services and Special Education for Colchester Public Schools. I'm here representing CONCASE, which is Connecticut's chapter of the Council of Special Education Administrators.
Thank you for that clarification. That was good. Representative Comey.
Good morning, Representative Comey, Representative Branford, and I'm already tuckered out from snowing this morning, so thank you.
I getcha. Louis?
Hi, Louis Talarita, Connecticut State Department of Education, representing McKinney-Vento.
All right. I think that's everybody. Did we get everybody? Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Pardon
I'm
the
pleased that all of-
interruption, Missy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you there.
Brian with an I.
Brian with an I is here. Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Brian Smith, and I'm here representing Connecticut Developmental Services and all our eligible individuals and their families. Good morning. And like Representative Comey, I'm done with snow. Done with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, all right. So we'll move away from that one then. Okay. So do we have any public comments today?
I do not see any, Missy, that are here to speak today.
Right. All right. We, since we do have a quorum, so thank you all for being here. We weren't sure. We would like to take a look at our January 28th minutes, and they need approval. Do we have any corrections for those?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
All right. I need a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
All right.
All right. Any opposed? And abstentions? Okay. So,
Just for the record, the only abstentions I would see was Amy and Jake that weren't at the last meeting that are here today.
yes.
So whatever the count is, -2 to 0, 2 abstention.
Okay, thank you very much. Old business. Oh, boy, I tell you. We have, unfortunately, we were supposed to have our legislative breakfast this morning, and the snow prohibited that. So we are working on a new date, but it's not proving to be very easy to do that. So a question for you, and I don't know that this would be any easier, but have we ever had like an afternoon, like social type of thing with our legislators, maybe just coffee and tea in the afternoon if we can't get the morning room to do something like that? Is that ever a possibility?
We haven't had that, to answer the short question. I don't, since I've been here, we haven't had an afternoon one. We've only done this morning breakfast thing a handful of times. It's, proven fairly effective. Rep. Comey, can speak to whether it would be get any attendance or good attendance in the afternoon versus the morning. So yeah, is it a space issue? Like you can't get that space at 9 a.m. any morning? That's the main issue. The other option is to get another space in the building, which is hard during session, obviously. I know the atrium sometimes you can get for something. It's not a breakfast thing, but you can do food out there. I know people do that. But I mean, afternoon's reasonable. I don't know, Rep. Comey, what you think. If you're, you think you'd get some legislators. I mean, the ultimate goal is when can we get legislators to show up, right? That's what we really care.
You could do an afternoon thing. I'm just thinking like coffee or, a little fika. That's the sweetest term for, midday coffee and pastry. I don't think, certainly legislators show up not always first thing in the morning anyway.
Right.
So I
Right.
think, you can't really lose
Yeah.
if you go midday.
The only tricky part I would think is once in the next few weeks, then it's going to be sessions popping up a little more regular. But if we do it within the next few weeks, I don't know what you had in mind, Missy, but if we're able to find a time day, it doesn't have to be tagged, as Jen put in the notes, to one of our meeting days. I mean, it could just be any other time. It could be a separate time entirely. But because we
We
don't
were
need
looking at the 25th,
26.
is that right?
So Cass just got back to us about the 25th, Robin, and we can't book it at
It's
that
not
time
available.
though, at that time. So we could go back to her with some alternative dates, times, everything, even on the 25th. We are doing our in-person hybrid meeting at the Lyceum though on the 25th. Because we have a contract, so we had to do that. So we moved it to there, and we're probably going to have to do it more in the morning anyway, because the Lyceum has something later on in the afternoon. So Cass has been super helpful, but it's really what time so we could try to get it, and it's a lot of moving pieces. So we thought about maybe a brunch, like even at 11 o'clock or something, or 12 o'clock. But being a little bit more flexible on our end to what they can give us.
Yeah, I mean, my only other thought is we don't need 26 SAC members at the breakfast. We only need a handful of SAC members at the breakfast, that can talk and present on the topics and issues. And really what we want there are the legislators and others to hear who we are and what we are. You know what I mean? So just as far as timing and getting everyone there, it doesn't have to be, again, the same day as our meeting if it doesn't work out that way. So that the 25th you're saying is more like a 9 to 11 meeting, or do you know that yet, or no, for our Lyceum, whatever, yada, yada?
So what we
in-person
know right
hybrid?
now, we have to be out by 12:30 out of the Lyceum.
Okay. So it's the worst case. Okay.
Yeah. So we could play around in the morning time frame, but by 12:30 we have to be out.
Yeah, we could do a 1 o'clock,
We
I mean,
could.
we could do a 1 o'clock for a legislative meetup, whatever. I mean, they happen all day, every day. There's stuff happening all the time, Rep. Comey, right? I mean, stuff's like nonstop up there.
Yeah. Even, people even have like little events at 5 o'clock at night down in
Right. They're all the time.
the lobby and the lobby. You can't talk in an environment like that necessarily
Right.
very easily. And it's more for like cocktail hour type stuff. Yeah, and I'm also trying to plan something for the 25th too. Something else, a movie screening on dyslexia. So,
So maybe we stay away from that day too. But yeah,
people are
I
in town.
Does
yeah,
it
I
have
think
to
if-
be a Wednesday? I know usually that's
d-
when we're all available, but does it have to be a Wednesday?
We already put in a request for Cass for Wednesdays and Thursdays in March, and so she said she's getting back to us.
Is there, Representative Comey, is there possibly some synergy for us to meet with the audience of the people who are coming to watch a film about people with disabilities?
Absolutely.
Good point.
I also don't have a time yet. I mean, I can get back to you when we do, but I think that there's going to be a lot of people here I mean, I'm hoping that there's going to be a lot of people. We're going to do like a movie screening and then with a documentary screening, which is like an hour and I don't know, 20 minutes or something like that. And then a little conversation with, CS, the Office of Dyslexia and the filmmaker and whomever else. It's all coming together right now. I think there is synergy. You could host depending on when we get a room, which is being looked into as we speak, you could do like a pre-movie little. Screening.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
Once you get the time, on that, where are you holding that? Do you know?
I'm trying to get a room in that. I'm trying to
Okay.
get maybe like 2C or something, like one of the bigger
okay.
rooms in the I'm asking right now what the max capacity is of the rooms, but I feel like
Cool.
you want to revisit this like online.
Yeah, sounds like some options. I mean,
afternoon or something. Okay.
yeah, sounds like some options. I think, Missy, right? I mean, we have some possible dates. You guys got feelers out. I think the SAC this can be flexible. We don't have to have it on certain days. It's a core group that would have to, be there, or half a dozen people could go and represent, as needed.
So
All
what we
right,
could
well-
do is propose some dates and times. We could work with Cass and work with Robin, and we could get some dates and times that might work and propose maybe, a handful of them. We could kind of go from there.
You could have like a popcorn event before.
Yeah, right. I like that.
Popcorn.
Different popcorn.
I like popcorn. That sounds good to me.
I think it's great to do that, but I think we should maybe also stick to just the little quick breakfast when we can tie in, because I think that sounds like a long evening, and it's evening, and we have parents. So that's where we jump into that. I just want to make sure we're thinking about parents, and it's out of the workday time. Am I correct?
Yes, in the middle of the day.
And yeah, and Jeff just put in he's actually out of town during that time.
Well, I'm not out of town. I'm actually going to be on trial in the federal court up in Hartford. So,
Wow. Jeff's in trouble during that. No kidding. We know.
yes, I'm getting deported.
We'll send bail, Jeff. We'll send bail.
Oh, thank you. Take a collection. I appreciate that. Maybe you can bring over some of the popcorn.
We'll send you some popcorn, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right.
So we can
All
work it
right,
out.
well,
Right now we
we'll
hold the
keep-
25th in the morning, right, for our meeting, and then more to come on the date for the legislative meetup.
Can I just say, my only concern is, and Robin would know better than myself, and I don't want to have too much time pass for the legislature if we want to get something, thrown in there. What's our window of opportunity to suggest an idea to get it into the hopper to get moving? I mean, isn't it like now, right?
Yeah, Jeff, that is a good point. Education is one of the later dates. But I suggest that perhaps our executive or a policy team should have a meeting with,
Well, yeah.
right,
Yeah.
Tom?
I was thinking the same thing. I mean, we've sent out our talking points to the key people. I think we circle back with them. it's already too late, to be honest with you, Jeff, for a lot of this stuff. I mean, let's be real. It's pretty much too late for anything we're going to bring to them. There's little they're adding in this year. They've already had 2 public hearings on education with a whole bunch of bills. There will be more. There's none scheduled right now, but I think the better bet, and we forwarded these to Rep. Leeper and Senator McCrory and the crew, I think, is to circle back with them and say, hey, you had gotten this invite, it's had to be rescheduled to snow. We don't have a date. Can we set up a meeting with some key members and try to get Robin and Dan and a couple of those, key members of education to present them a thing? That's a thought. That's a good thought, Robin, that we could do that. And then, because it's going to be hard to get this other thing scheduled.
Yeah, I appreciate that Robin had sent out the note to the legislators, and I think and then Missy, did you send one on behalf of us, right? On behalf of the SAC, the one that I had written, you sent that too, I think?
Yeah, I believe that went out.
We emailed
Okay,
that
so
to the
I was
education
thinking
committee.
about, I could follow up with like hey, kind of what Tom just said, we were gonna have a breakfast, wanted to see you in person, that got canceled. But in the meantime, I just want to say, we're still here and these are things we're pressing for. So I'm quite happy to do a follow-up letter too. And a meeting too.
Yeah. And again, just to request, a meeting with those guys, and it'll be hard to get one because they're all busy, but maybe we can get Leeper and Kevin and Rep. Brown. I mean, a couple of them, you know what I mean, Robin? I mean, a couple of those folks, chairs and vice chairs, whoever we can get a meeting with.
Yeah.
Sort of a deal, I think, is our best bet.
Even if we could, yeah.
I just have one question. I mean, I know that this year the weather has just, we haven't had a year like this in quite some time, but is there any thought around making this virtual if we're not able to meet in person like we did today, like we just create a virtual option so that we could just go ahead and meet? I mean, I think the timing sometimes is an issue. And if we, let's say next year is another part 2 of this type of weather, I'm just curious how we can move forward so that we're not playing hopscotch with locations. I mean, I want to meet in person as well. I just also want to make sure we're, not in this position again. So maybe is there a way we can kind of do like a inclement weather?
Yeah, we can.
Already set up,
We certainly can. I mean, I think that there's an obvious benefit to in person. I don't need to state, but virtual, trying to get legislators to listen to us talking about something. Robin, what are we getting, 2, 3? I mean, you're not going to get many to show up to that. I'm just being honest. Like, it's going to be hard to get them. It's hard enough to get them to show up to the in-person breakfast, waving some donuts in front of them. You know what I mean? Like, it'll be hard anyway. So we can do it. We could try. It's even if, here's my other thought, is even if it's late, even if we don't, because again, my position is I don't think there's a lot of progress going to be made this year on our stuff and our initiatives. I just don't think that's reality. But even if it's late, it's still beneficial to be there in the building saying, hey, here's who we are. It's SAC, and here's our stuff. I think that's beneficial despite the timing. You know what I mean? But anyway, I'll shut up. I've been talking enough.
The only thing the reason why I just wanted to interject is because if someone already has the time allotted on their schedule and they have plans to attend, now we've missed that window. That's the only reason why I just offered, like, if we in the future just try to take advantage of the time that they had allowed on their schedule to show up in person.
Good thoughts. So if possible, Representative Comey, if you can meet with Dan, and I know Dan couldn't be here today, but and this policy group, and see if maybe we can gather a few members just to meet with them and just share some of this. And, we could do that in person and that would be fine. I promise to bring my brownies that everybody loves if they would like to meet with us. But if we can gather together a small meeting.
Well, we have our meeting set for tomorrow morning at 9:30 anyway, our regular weekly meeting. So we can talk this through then. We can talk those details through then. I think Jeff and I and Robin and whoever else comes to that meeting, there's a bunch of people on that committee.
Our legislative committee meeting.
Correct.
Yes. Okay.
Correct.
All
so we can hammer some of that out then. I mean, just so we don't belabor it now.
Yeah. Yeah. I won't be able to be there tomorrow because I have a task force meeting tomorrow.
We won't
so-
get everyone. Yeah, we won't get everyone all the time, as long as we got a decent number, I think.
Okay.
Does
All
that
right.
sound
Well,
okay? I mean, Jeff and others, I
we've
mean,
got-
that sound okay?
Yeah.
We've got things that are in the Harper to try to work out and see if we can do that. Okay. Membership. Nominating committee, anything to report on?
I can report on membership. Bear
Okay.
with me one moment. Nothing has changed really since the last time I reported, but we have 3 student vacancies with 1 potential student, 1 para vacancy, 2 legislative vacancies, 1 teacher vacancy, 1 charter school vacancy, and 1 Department of Correction vacancy. We have received 11 applications, and we are in the process of working sometimes to get everyone to a meeting so that we can review those applications.
Sylviana, did you reach out to Rep Kit?
I have not yet, but I do have it. I actually just talked to Jen yesterday to gather some information, to send some information and schedule a time.
Great.
Joviana, oh, sorry. Is there any position we don't have applications for that you need?
Most of the applications that we received were special education teachers. There were 2 that were uncategorized because I'm not sure what position they were looking for. So I am based off of that. If they're all potential special education teachers, we still need para. We have 1 potential legislative interest that we will, I will touch base on, but then we still have 1 other. We have a charter school vacancy and 1 Department of Correction vacancy. So if you know anyone that is interested, please forward the information.
Is Department of Corrections appointed? Brian, would you know that? Anyone know that?
Brian may know, but I believe that's an appointed.
It was appointed, and what's her name was our last one, and I don't know.
Rita
Huckius. I don't know that. I mean, we could just reach out to her and be like, "Hey, who's replacing you, man?" Like, you know what I mean? I think that might be the easiest way to get that one. Is just she'll respond to an email. She's not in this role anymore, but can you point us to who is, or who can be? That might be a way to tackle that one. She's fairly responsive.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah. Rita Halkis or whatever, right? You should have her contact
Yes.
info. What's our total vacancies? I know you rattle off a lot of numbers.
Sure. Give me 1 second. So
Yeah,
right now, 3 student, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
9. And what's our total that we're supposed to have if we're totally full?
Ooh, Catherine.
Oh, gosh.
That one.
Is it 37
sorry.
or 38?
I was going to say, I think it's 37.
Okay, cool. So that's down to the 28 full right now. I was just trying to get that number in our brains. So we had like right now with 28 full, then that's 14 for a quorum sort of situation. So awesome. Thanks.
And I see Brian Klimkowitz put something in the chat. He wasn't aware Rita left, and apparently she's still the current director of corrections.
Yes, Brian, she gave her resignation last week. I think we reported that out on at the executive committee that she did provide her resignation.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions, thoughts? All right. Legislative update?
Well, I mean, the legislative update is that Brian has been good in sending me some titles. I'd sent it out to our legislative committee, some of the ones that I've gathered together. I had to say the last couple of days I haven't been really collecting any of that. If there were some sent with all the weather problems, et cetera. I know City Hall has been closed and everything. So as we discussed earlier in this meeting, I'm happy to do a follow-up to the Education Committee to kind of press some of our stuff. I know the ones that I can resend the letter and just say, hey, we're still here or something. I'd like to get an idea from people what we want to do. I know we were just talking earlier about I'm happy to meet with them too. So
I would
Yeah.
not send any more emails right now. We're being hammered. The education committee is being hammered on a lot of emails right now. It's going to get lost
okay, so I mean I can hold up. Would you
because
want to give me the green
there's
light?
something that's
Randy?
passing this week, and
Yeah. There's all those hearings that just happened, and there's so much craziness. Is that what you're saying?
not to mention the homeschooling thing and all the other
Right.
things. So I would
Right.
just,
Cell phone stuff and yada
we're
yada.
getting a lot of something that's passing this week in the East Cert. We're getting like hundreds a day.
Okay.
A little
Robin,
pushback on that.
do you want to give me a green light when it might be the best, and then I'll be able to do that?
I will. And of course, they're only going to education network.
Right. No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll say, can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
The only thing I'll say is there was, again, 2 public hearings for Ed Committee. There was nothing that was like, I mean, there's always stuff we could, opine about and give input on, but there was nothing glaring that I saw that was like really needed our attention. But last Friday, the cell phone thing's a big thing, obviously, in the homeschool thing, but nothing that we need to really get into. There is stuff in the cell phone stuff that is, sort of exemptions for kids with IEPs, yada yada, sort of stuff. So there's those sort of protections built into that already. So we don't need to really get into that. So most of the stuff that I'm seeing on those few anyway are okay. And we'll keep an eye out at the next public hearing, obviously. And Robin, when you see those and Brian does, we can take a peek and see if there's something. But
All
I
right.
think
Hey, Tom, can I
we're
ask
in pretty
you?
good shape.
I know that you have your thumb on the pulse a lot better than I do up there because of your
Yeah.
position. Could you keep me posted if you see something coming up for a discussion with them? Let me know. So just keep me.
Yeah, no, I definitely will. I check the Ed Committee kind of every other day or so just to see
All
when
right.
the meetings are happening. Like they meet Friday, but there's no public hearing. And the meetings, Robin, I don't find that they're super necessary for us to tune into. I mean, I do once in a while, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of reason for us until we here's a bill, here's a hearing, then that's kind of our cue,
I agree.
right? Okay,
Yeah,
that's
the
what I thought.
committee meetings are just a process.
Yeah, process. Yeah. So
All right.
I'll
So
keep
Tom,
an eye out, Jeff, and see if as soon as I see a public hearing pop up for it, I'll holler at you. The
all right.
group.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. That's it for us.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let's move on to roundtable. Our roundtable is our portion of the meeting for SAC members, that would be you guys, to share any unmet needs or positive outcomes from any of your interest stakeholders. Just a reminder that it's not a place to announce any upcoming events. If you have an event flyer or registration information for some event, that you want to share, just email Jen Lucier and she will send it out to the whole group. Okay. So just open up for members if you have anything that you would like to share. I know it's been quiet because of all the snow. There's been a lot of things canceled, so. Nothing popping out. Well, I think this is a first for me not to have
No,
any.
never. I'm not gonna let that pass. Come on,
Oh,
Missy.
Tom,
I'm not gonna. I can't let that pass. I can't let that pass. So I'll say this quickly as Disability Rights Connecticut. So many of you, most of you, some of you hopefully have seen a report we issued a few weeks ago on out-of-state placements and students. So I just wanted to just mention that. And if you haven't seen it, you can go to our website and look. We have the thing posted. We did a joint investigation with the Office of Child Advocate and Disability Rights Connecticut. So there's a lot to it. There's, it's our Disability Rights Connecticut report. So I'm speaking as this, you asked me to, the stakeholder of Disability Rights Connecticut and my role here. Certainly there's some things in there that would not be consistent with everyone on the SAC, and I acknowledge that. So, but it's something that we're, looking to work with, Brian, the State Department of Ed and others. So certainly I point you to that report and the executive summary on our website. And if you have questions, you can ask now, or we can circle back certainly at another time, or you can circle back to me outside of this forum.
I read the articles and I saw you quoted in the paper, Tom.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No, that was good. All right, anything else? Wow, this is good. All right, Brian, take it away.
Thank you, Missy. Just wanted to give a shout out and to you and the executive committee as far as scrambling with the weather conditions, and all of you today for being flexible and being on and having so many people attend this meeting, given the change at the last minute. It just is a testament to your commitment. And I say this, I've been at the State Department for 8 years, but when you go around and do your roll call and the stakeholders that you represent and the expertise that you bring to this council, it's really awe-inspiring. So it's great to be with you this morning. Hopefully, if you have updates or things that you want to bring to our attention at the state, if it's not during roundtable, please do so in other ways, because we really encourage that piece of the meeting. So as always, we put together a few slides for you. Please stop me along the way, especially if you get tired of my voice. Quick update from OSIP. So David Cantrell was the acting director of OSIP. We received communications last week that he is leaving that position, but staying within the Department of Education to work on IDA issues related to the Institute of Educational Science in the Department of Education. So there will be a new OSIP lead. Her name is Erin McHugh. And you can see here her previous role in OSERS, the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitation Services. So we're anxious to receive formal communications from Erin, as well as ongoing updates from the Office of Special Education Programs. Quick update, you should all be aware, as we reported last meeting and talked about previously, I'm very excited to share that the State Department is in process of updating the SRVI 2008 guidance document. It's an evolution of that the previous document into a multi-tiered system of support. We all know that special education is a reflection of general education across our state, and access to high quality instructors and tier 1 instruction in the general education setting, as well as general education interventions. And so we did a landscape analysis nationally to compare best practices. That was through Hanover Institute, and we've received that feedback and developed, as you recall from our last meeting, both internal and external advisory groups. I believe this really is in line with your priorities around supports, not only academically for students with disabilities, but also related to behavior and social emotional needs that students have. So there's a few buckets of work, if you will, here. You can see the ABC. The document in and of itself will be updated. We're also working with school districts to develop and improve self-assessment so that our school districts are able to assess what their current systems are in place and where they may need attention based on the updated guidance and best practices. And then future, we're looking to provide training and technical assistance to support districts. When we speak about MTSS, the question of resources always comes into question and into play. And I know we've had very fruitful discussions as a council around this work. So the next slide, I just wanted to share with you upcoming focus group opportunities. And this is you can go one more slide. Thank you. The focus group announcements that we have focus groups both for families, and families may not know what MTS is or understand it, or they may very well know, depending on their experiences and the age of their students. but we're really asking folks if you could reach out to your communities and share this information. Our first focus group is happening this Friday and all throughout early March. It is a very busy time, we know, but we're hoping to get voice and feedback. And you can see how we're posing the questions for families, what's working well to help students who need support, and how can the State Department best support our school students and families through that process. So that's essentially what we're looking at there. Additionally, the next slide shows our focus groups that are happening for our educators. So again, if you're able to share and spread the word on this, we do have an advisory group that is representative, similar to yourself, geographically around the state. We have different sized districts, different roles working to help shape and advise the work, along with our internal teams that it's not the special education department working in isolation. We're working across our academic office, performance office, reading, office of reading disabilities, and so it's a culmination of many activities across the state, and so we're excited. But in addition to the focus groups, there will be other opportunities to kind of weigh in as we get closer to a final resource to be able to share with you all. Next slide. Missy, we were talking earlier today about surveys. It seems like survey overload, but we do appreciate any feedback that you'd be able to provide on the Connecticut Comprehensive Literacy Survey. We're gathering information to deepen our understanding around the literacy landscape across the state. And so the due date for this survey is March 23rd. And we're sharing this information on behalf of our academic office, our turnaround office, and our reading initiatives across the state. Oh, fancy slide turn there.
Yeah.
How about that? All right. So the Special Education Enhancement and Expansion Grant, just wanted to share with you that the applications for this grant were due last Friday. So CSDE is in process of reviewing the grants and approving those now. There were a handful of regional districts that we're working with outside of the EGMS system, but the majority of the districts are working in EGMS on these applications. And as you recall, this is the grant where the districts have to identify new activities from the start of this year, and it has to be direct services to students. They are not able to utilize these funds for any administrative supports or services, and they're also not able to utilize any third-party vendors in their application process. So we're excited to see the applications coming in, and the districts have already received 50% of their allocations, and the additional 50% will be allocated in April. Starting next year, the State Department will provide a summary and evaluation on how those monies were spent and an update on the impact. This is funded also for next year as well in the governor's budget.
I'm sorry, Brian, is it at the same level? Brian or Robin, is that same level right now? Same level, okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Great question. And then we have kind of a formula of which districts receive, the amounts that districts receive. So we're also excited to be partnering with CPAC and CERC to update our parent guide to special education. And so CPAC has been distributing a survey across the state to essentially ask what are the strengths of the current document. Parents receive the parent guide to special education through the PPT process. It's also posted on our CSDE website and is a pretty frequently accessed document. Whether, we're not sure if those are parents or educators or both perhaps that are accessing that, but it's one of our documents that receive kind of our larger number of hits on our website. Having said that, I posed to Missy just recently, and for the the executive committee, to consider if a subcommittee would like to assist in this process. Obviously, Jen is a big part in working on this project, as well as Jane Hampton. So we're excited about that work. And then CERC has a number of consultants working on this, as well as our internal team at CSDE. So we're thinking if there was interest, Missy, and folks, I know folks are extremely busy, and this spring is going to be a very busy spring. But if we could schedule a couple of meetings as we're shaping and developing this project, we would be happy to. I know this is in alignment with your priorities as well. And we had some great discussions in our last in-person meeting at the LOB about just different ways that we can bring this information to parents. So that's not a static document sitting on a shelf, but more interactive, different ways that we can bring that information to parents and educators real time. And so we have some pretty amazing technology that we're trying to tap into for this updated version of the Parent Guide to Special Education. I'll pause there, Missy, to see if you have any comments, or Jen, as well as CPAC is obviously a lead in this work, and we're happy to support this collaborative effort moving forward.
So we have our next executive meeting is March 11th, I believe. And so we'll have some more conversation there. But and then what we'll do is, if we set up some dates to possibly pull together this subgroup, I'll send out an email to the full group because we're not all here today. And if people are interested in joining the subgroup, it's a work group type of thing, just to help guide some of the things that are happening with the survey, or the parent guide rather, then that would be great. And we can go from there.
Like
Jen,
John
do you
from the
have
car is interested, Missy.
All right. Okay.
Thank you, John. Jen, was there anything that you wanted to add?
Nope. I did post the links for the surveys for you all to share. And I will email everything out that I posted in the chat later to the group as well.
Thank you very much.
It would be helpful if you share that, because I don't think there's as many surveys back as they would like to see. So if you haven't shared it with groups yet, then please share those surveys.
Thank you very much. We can go on to the next slide. I just wanted to update you on a couple of recent surveys. Survey is the word of the day, that have been sent out around CT SEDS. And Tom, this is familiar to you, as we had a Bergen subcommittee meeting yesterday, where we did share some of this information. But each year PCG sends out a survey and essentially asks those 3 questions. You could see the average rating there is a 3 out of 5 as far as the usability of CT SEDS. This was something that came up in the WestEd report as well, and we've done a significant amount of outreach to our users as well to receive real-time feedback and input. And you can see the breakdown of the 720 respondents here. And Missy, I won't go through all, but I included some direct quotes from folks that were that participated in this particular survey, and you can see the comments. Were both positive comments as well as suggestions for improvement. That first page, folks are saying that they've seen the improvements and appreciate that. Oh, you can go ahead. And that this is around the help desk, just very appreciative of the different supports that we have in place for our local school districts. A couple of recommendations here for navigation. The CONCASE board actually brought to our attention issues related to the multidisciplinary evaluation form. So the document that's utilized for specific learning disabilities identification and eligibility worksheet in the case where parents were absent from meetings. So PCG, that was something that PCG is rectifying and is able to improve for our districts and for our families. So we do appreciate, folks. We know surveys are time consuming and it's challenging to prioritize, but we do view all of the comments and work to make improvements along the way. Another issue that we received was the multi-factor authentication for CT SEDS was happening multiple times in the day as educators were trying to get in. And as you know, every minute counts, and sometimes that multi-factor authentication was taking up more time than necessary. And so PCG has worked to rectify that issue as well. So our users will see improvements in that area starting next week. You can go ahead and flip through just a couple. We'll share this with you and you can take a look at the quotes if you'd like. The last slide I will speak to, it just spoke to the inequity of training access. What it seems like there are teachers who have reported that they have very little access to support and training, and others where they're taking advantage of and being able to access the training. And so we're working with our schools and districts to ensure that folks are aware of the different training opportunities. I think also the vacancies and the retention and recruitment has impacted folks' ability to be able to access and attend training and support. And so, like we're trying to do with the parent guide to special education, we're working to get this information into the hands of the teachers and educators and providers who need it. Just in addition to our state level activities. We also do a pulse survey twice a year. And so we just finished and closed our winter pulse survey. And you can see we received about the same number of respondents that PCG did. And there's a breakdown by public school and our private school responses. APSEPs are approved private special education programs. And so Tom asked a great question yesterday as far as the overall rating, if we've seen an increase or a decrease, or if it's holding steady. And we have seen a slight increase, but we're looking to review those data in more depth and to analyze the results to be able to share with you at a future meeting. And this slide just shows the maybe a little sign of spring here with the flower format, but the different supports that we have in place for our school districts. We're also engaged in providing information to parents in new ways related to the parent portal. There's been a lot of confusion around the parent portal about what it's designed to do, what it isn't designed to do. And so we have new resources and documents that we're ready to roll out and to support that process as well.
The parent portal, is that what you said, Brian?
Yeah.
I want to see those documents. I want to see that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there are some issues there, but okay.
Okay. So those are my updates. Now it's a little bit more of an interactive activity that we have. So hopefully folks will, if you have a cell phone handy or ready, that would be great because we have a QR code. Or we'll also put the link in the chat for you. That's another opportunity for you to access the Mentimeter. And I think you can kind of go in and there's 3 different ways to access Mentimeter. But we have had discussions at previous meetings about our local school district determinations. So just as a reference point and a refresher for you all, on an annual basis, the CSDE provides annual determinations for school districts, whether or not they meet requirements, need assistance, need intervention, or substantial intervention. Every state does this. Our annual performance reports are posted on EdSite. They must contain the following components. So those indicators there that you see, those numbers 4B, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, all mean something to us and may not mean anything to you at the moment. But as a refresher, we do have a next slide to show you what those mean. And then we also have timely and correction of noncompliance. This is our handy reference sheet on the 18 indicators that we report to OSEP. The right-hand column shows the results-based indicators. The left-hand column shows the compliance indicators. And you can see the tiny little asterisks by the indicators that currently make up an LEA's determination. And so we've been working with our LEA Advisory Council, as well as you all, to pose the question of what recommendations might you have for an indicator, whether it be part of these 18 or other measures that will most effectively improve outcomes for students with disabilities. So in one of the Bergen subcommittee meetings, we were able to show them our current data around some of these indicators and have discussions about which ones seem to, what's the right word? They're all important, obviously, but which ones seem to should have a focus on and a good indicator of, are the services that are being provided to students resulting in the outcomes that we're hoping to achieve. So we had some great discussions around post-secondary, around graduation and dropout, the pros and cons of using a state assessment to be able to make certain determinations for our students. So the next slide here. Thanks, Missy. Just another breakdown of our current system that we have in place. Over the last several years, we've included chronic absenteeism. This was a recommendation by the LEA Advisory, understanding that when students are not engaged and when they're not attending, that does impact most of the other indicators. A reminder here as a breakdown of our LEAs. When we report our annual performance reports are posted, they reflect the data from the year before. And so you can see the 23-24 data were posted this past year. We had 107 LEAs meet requirements. And the reason that you see the decline there and folks are working on the chronic absenteeism piece and improving, having district-wide efforts in improving engagement and attendance. Other areas that have recently kind of added to the additional districts where there's either need assistance or needs intervention have been our timelines related to evaluations. So that's information as well that we're receiving and sharing out with our districts. So that brings us to our more interactive activity. And just to pause again and for you all to reflect a little bit, the question is, what thoughts do you have on the current indicators and system being used for measuring effectiveness of the delivery of special education by districts? And then what additional indicators or components should be considered to better reflect the effectiveness? So on the next slide, we have a little Menti option here. There's 3 different ways to go here. If you're on your computer and laptop at home, you can type in menti.com and then enter this code. We're going to go ahead and put this direct link in the chat for you, which should open up directly. Or if you'd prefer to use your cell phone, you can do that as well. So we'll keep this slide up, Missy, for a little bit to give folks a minute or two to get on, and happy to answer any questions before we get started. Okay, I promised to, thank you, Christine. I was going to say I promised the link in the chat, but I was trying to find it. So thank you. You beat me to it.
No, you're welcome. It took me a minute to maneuver and find it. I got it though.
It was like we rehearsed this, Christine. That was perfect.
We're right on time, Brian. Right on time.
Yes. All right. Are we okay, Missy, if you unshare your screen? Did folks have a chance to get in? If not, we have the direct link there. That's probably your best bet. Okay. Thumbs up, we're doing good. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen once I can find the Mentimeter so we can see our responses real time here. And then we can open it up for discussions. It would help if I didn't have 20 windows open. Okay, let's see if I shared the right one. Folks seeing the Mentimeter?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so it's just yes, no questions here. The first question is, should any of the following SPP, so that's State Performance Plan, Annual Performance Report, outcomes, indicators be incorporated into LEA determinations? So the options we have are graduation, which is indicator 1, percentage of youth graduating with a diploma, dropout, percentage of youth dropping out with IEPs, our state assessment, which includes participation, proficiency, and gaps between students with IEPs and general education students, our LRE indicator for students ages 6 through 21, as well as our pre-K. Preschool outcomes is indicator 7. That's where we measure students entering preschool and exiting preschool in 3 different areas. And then the parent involvement surveys, indicator 8. That's one of the surveys that Sean oversees in one of his many roles with the department.
Brian, could you just
And
go back
then,
and explain what the educational environment LRE is?
yes, thank you, Jeff. So the educational environments, with regard to the annual performance report, this would be students who are educated alongside their typical peers. So it's called NW Twin Dip, time with non-disabled peers, for 80% or more during their school day. So looking at those percentages, we also report on the number of students who are placed in separate settings. Connecticut has reduced those settings, but has been had the highest percentage of students placed when compared to other states across the country. So our current rates for that are just over 5%. So there are 3 indicators, 5A, 5B, and 5C. 5A is 80% and above. 5B is 40 to 80, and then the C is the separate placements. So certainly many of these indicators do align with your current priorities. That is not necessarily how you have to answer, but it seems like folks are weighing in at this point. So I'm not all
I
that.
just share that post-school outcomes has got your highest number there. Just saying,
Does. Do you know what these numbers mean? I'm not a Mentimeter expert here, so it looks like if I hover over this, there's a 14 there.
So 14 said that it should be included, so it would be.
Yeah. Looks like 13. This is great. So just let me know. Oh, Jen, I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, thanks. So I just wanted to make a comment that like not all of these were like a yes or no for me. It's like I have comments too, and I don't know that we're gonna get to capture it in there. Like the parent involvement survey. I think, we've heard repeatedly parents don't feel like it actually captures if they were meaningfully involved because yes, parents are invited to their PPTs. It's required by the law. And are we measuring that they're involved at the bare minimum of the law, or are we measuring, are they meaningfully participating in the decision making for their child? So that's just a comment I wanted to add because it's just something that comes up repeatedly, especially when it comes to having language access and having evaluation shared ahead of times. So, family involvement survey doesn't quite measure what the thing that's actually going to improve outcomes for students with meaningful parent engagement.
For those comments, Jen. I've promised,
Thanks.
I believe, at previous meetings too, to share the questions for the survey so you can see what the questions are. We ask more than the bare minimum of parents if they're invited. There are questions about their, how the parents are feeling, that they were involved in the process. So that's a great point, and we can absolutely share those questions with the full council. And Sean, if you don't mind making a note of that, we can circle back and probably share that between now and our next meeting for folks.
Yeah, thanks. And I think you guys have always been very responsive in tweaking, like the questions as,
we have in the last few years though.
Yeah, but I think, as a parent who receives those, I've been able to answer yes to the questions even when I didn't have meaningful involvement, just the way they were worded. It's like technically, yes, I can answer this, but it doesn't mean that that's what it felt like or that's what my experience was. I can't really explain it without all the questions in front of me. But
No,
it's
understood.
just feedback that I wanted to share.
Yes, Sean, you may know when the last time we revised it, but I want to say it's been at least, I think this current survey has been in place at least the last 4 or 5 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's been in place for a number of years, so it's definitely due for a revision. And I think that getting feedback on it is really a good idea.
Thanks, Sean.
Brian, can I ask a question on the first indicator? I'm sorry if I just cut somebody off.
Please.
So
yeah, I don't think you cut anyone off.
Thank you. So the graduation, the percentage of youth with IEPs graduating with regular diploma, I know there's many of us on this group that are very passionate about transition programming. And obviously that's legislatively and from the state been such an important focus in the last few years. And I know that when we get graduation percentage rates, when we move students on to transition programming, depending on the size of your district, that can hit you differently, but it's almost a knock against you when your percentage. So my question for that one is, would that percentage take into account students who are appropriately planned for like post-secondary transition programming, or would that potentially count against a district who's working really hard with families to plan for transition services, even for students who haven't been considered in past?
Yeah, so there was a change in the graduation formula at the federal level recently. I want to say 2 or 3 years ago. We can get that, we can circle that slide back as well. But as to your point, if students are accessing secondary transition beyond the age of 18, they are factored into the formula, but it's not based on a 4-year cohort percentage. And so there are 4-year grad rates as well as 6-year grad year rates, 6-year grad rates. But as far as the formula goes, that we can circle back to that slide to show you exactly the numerator and the denominator that we're using in that context.
Thank you. And then for the LRE indicator, Brian, is that measuring like the time with non-disabled peers, the twin dip specifically, or is it looking at separate setting and placement?
Both. It's all and both. So there are 3 indicators. It's indicator 5, A, B, and C. So A would be that inclusive environments for students 80% and more, and 5C are students in separate environments. And so states have approached this differently that use LRE. Some of the concerns we've had about folding in educational environments is we don't want districts, not that they would, but sometimes there's unanticipated results in that we don't want students in a more inclusive setting if they're not able to access their education. And so that's something that we want to keep in mind. And when we're reporting to the federal government, if a student moves from outplacement to the district, typically they move from 5C to that 0 to 40% timeframe with peers. And so as students move from one kind of grouping of inclusion to the next, we just don't want to play quote unquote a numbers game with the percentage of youth. And so I think it might have been Jane during one of the breakout sessions that we had a couple of years ago when we were talking about this, that there was interest in combining LRE with outcomes so that it's not only looking at the environment in and of itself, but it's matching that environment with how the student is performing, whether that be academically or some other manner. So we've shown data around LRE where Connecticut's percentage of students 80% and above included has been slowly declining. It did perk back up the last couple of years, but it hasn't gotten back to the pre-COVID levels that we were at previously. And there's a number of reasons for that and a number of factors. So other states who use LRE tend to use it as a weighting percentage of rather than in and of itself kind of a factor.
That's really great to hear, because I think what can't be lost is that there is there are groups within the state that really advocate for private placements and don't always keep LRE at the center, really looking for progress in homeschools as a starting point for that. And especially with other factors like the mediation statement and the kind of the push to use mediation, and often outcomes from that are landing in an agreement. And I just think what parents are looking for has to be considered in that, with Connecticut's outplacement rate being what it is. A lot of that, I think, is strategic work with families and advocacy efforts to help understand, along with things like the SEED grant, right? Like a lot of good initiatives happening, but I think parent wishes and involvement in that just have to be considered if we're using it as an indicator.
Thank you, Eve.
Yeah, thank you.
Nachi has his
I
hand
thought I
up.
saw another hand. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Nachi.
Thank you. Great discussion here. Just from my stakeholder group, I'd like to say that this piece is so important as we look at the 80%. And Brian, to your point about our students who are, we don't want to just look at those numbers. We want to also look at outcomes. And I think as we go forward with MTSS, we will see that it's the supplemental aids and services, the things that are required under IDEA in that general classroom or in the classroom with more typical peers. So when we increase time with non-disabled peers, do we have supplemental aids and services such that they support and scaffold our students with disabilities as it is intended to do? And I think those are some of the salient issues that are faced by my constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, Nachi. Appreciate your comments. Just given the time here, and let's continue the discussions, but I want to move to the next question, and I hope it works if I hit this button that says next slide.
Yep.
Are you all seeing this now that you're able to manipulate? Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, great. So the next question is, should any of these data points, so these are not indicators on the state performance plan, these are other areas that could be considered and incorporated into the LEA determinations. I'll describe them very quickly. So chronic absenteeism means a student with an IEP is absent 10% or more of the time. As mentioned earlier, we do currently use this in our LEA determinations, and many of our districts are focused on and continue to work on that student engagement. A fiscal risk process is a state education agency responsibility, and essentially what that does is help our team understand which districts need additional support in completing the IDEA Part B grant and all the activities related to that. The complaints and violations you're probably familiar with. So if a district receives a certain number of complaints that are substantiated where an area of noncompliance is found, should that be something that's factored into a determination? And then finally, the desk audit is one of our activities in our cohort monitoring, where we review student IEPs and prior written notice documents and provide feedback to districts. Also part of our desk audit is tracking and monitoring district's compliance with annual performance reports, annual PPT meetings and 3-year reevaluations. And then Jen, to your point about adding comments, the third question allows for any comments or nuances that we haven't provided here.
Brian, what type of LEA, it says incorporated into LEA determinations? What LEA determinations are we talking about? I apologize.
Oh, that's a great question. So every year the State Department releases annual performance reports. So all of our LEAs receive an APR, and those are posted on EdSite. And the determination is whether or not the district meets requirements, needs assistance, needs intervention, or needs substantial intervention. And
Okay, so this
so
is a state review of the local education agency.
exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank
So
you.
all state agencies are required to do that. And then there are certain indicators that we must include that are compliance. But our overall goal, which we share with our educators, parents, and students, is to focus on those areas that have the biggest impact on outcomes for students. So we often say about compliance is that compliance is sort of the foundation of a home. You need to have compliance and systems in place, but that in and of itself is not going to help a student achieve. So what are the areas that we can help shape technical assistance for and support for our districts to improve statewide? And how do we message that out as a State Department? So appreciate your feedback here. I'll pause to see if there's any other questions or comments related to these activities.
Has his hand up?
Hey, Brian, Tom,
Tom.
and I can put this in the next slide when you switch slides.
Yeah.
But I know, and we talked about this a little bit actually the other day on the Bergen Commission thing, but like, it's
Yeah.
a really tough one, but how, is there a way, understanding what goals and objectives are and they're individual and all of that, but is there a way to somehow, it's not easy, I acknowledge this is a kind of, hornet's nest I'm poking here, but to see how we measure them individually for students. So how can we roll those up, so to speak, in some way to say, how is a district doing on a student's goals and objectives? So not a discussion for today. We have 6 minutes left in the meeting. Just kind of throwing it out there as maybe a future conversation, as just a thought about what does that look like as a way to kind of see how a district's doing for their special education students.
Thanks, Tom. I think that would make a great discussion for like a workshop type, when we have, I'm thinking too, Missy, like when we have our longer meetings that are in person, I think these would be great discussions to try to have. And just so everyone's aware, we're doing this same outreach with our special education directors through our LEA advisory, and as Tom mentioned, through some of our legislative discussions. One, to help people understand what's currently in place and the data collections that we have. What are some of the limitations that we may have at the State Department? And then what are some areas of recommendation? So this is really valuable feedback and input that you're all providing. So appreciate it. All right, we will move on given the time, and we'll leave this open. And Missy, I think we'll share out perhaps, because I know there are some council members that weren't able to join us today. So we'll keep this Mentimeter open, and this allows folks who, just some time to enter in comments that we'll be collecting and reviewing and summarizing back to you all.
Would be good.
See some popping in there now. So thank you. See some response. Restraint and seclusion. I'm going to go ahead and unshare my screen, Missy, and turn it back to you.
Okay. I do want to make sure we share the quote that you put up here for us.
Oh yeah, just a message to you all.
I like it, so I wanted to make sure we shared that.
It's really, we had, there's been folks who have supported the work of the advisory council in the past and have used an analogy like a glacier moving, that sometimes progress moves slowly. But just know, and kind of the comment I made earlier, that working together in the collaboration that we have, we see growth and we see improvements, and it's just appreciate all the work that you're all doing, and the folks that you represent. There's nothing we can't accomplish if we work together, except maybe to see our driveways right now. But other than that, most anything else we can accomplish.
It's just really cool because I love the plant and it's growing and stuff like that. And it just reminds me that spring is coming. My husband's got some tomato plants downstairs in our basement that are chugging right along. So we're looking more forward to spring than more snow. So all right. If there are not any other comments, questions and stuff, I will I need a motion to adjourn at 11:58. Jake is making that motion. All right, 11:58. All those in favor, just please say bye. Have a wonderful, wonderful snow day.
Thank you all.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for everybody.